Hi everyone, this is Andy Kirkpatrick, and I kind of wanted to talk about the real reason why education in America really sucks. I'm a teaching assistant at a middle school. I've worked as a one-on-one aide. I was a substitute teacher. Uh, I was an account clerk for BOCES. I've done a bunch of different things over the past 9.5 years. Now, everyone's going to be like, well, it's trauma, or it's the Democrats, or it's this gender politics, and all this other garbage. No, it's not trauma, it's not poverty, it's not disability. I mean, that is some of it, obviously, but the real reason why education sucks is because of the Republicans. I'll let that sink in. The reason why the Republicans are the main force behind education sucking so much is because we've had 40 plus years since Ronald Reagan, or as my friend and I like to call him, Ronnie Reagan. Ever since Ronnie Reagan, what have we had? Don't trust the government. Keep government small. Keep government out of our lives. Defund this program. Defund that. Defund whatever. Okay? The thing is, though, the area I come from, and I live in New York State, but the area I'm from is heavily red. It's heavily Republican. And instead of seeing schools get smaller, I have seen schools get bigger. Now, what do I mean by that? Uh, when I was in school, we had a school psychologist. Okay, fine. We had guidance counselors. Great. Okay, now we have the guidance counselors. Now we have the school psychologists. Now we have sociologists, or social workers, basically. So now we have that extra layer. We have people from outside agencies, who are based in our school. They have offices in our school and they work with the kids. Seems like government's kind of growing here, isn't it? So this mantra of small government, stay out of my life attitude that the Republicans like to say they believe in is actual absolute bull crap, or dog crap, cat crap, whatever kind of crap you want to make it. That is exactly what it is. Uh, so the school has actually grown. There's more programs. There's holiday helpers for disadvantaged families, where the school goes out and buys presents for the kids since the parents don't have enough money, which may or may not be true. I mean, I don't know everyone's situation, but that's socialism. I mean, your kids are already getting a free public education. Why should the school be providing you with food and gifts and all this stuff? And that's exactly what the school is doing. We have the backpack program for elementary, where the kids get food on Fridays, I believe it is. They get canned goods, pasta, stuff like that, which in theory is a great idea. If people need help, let's give it to them. But at the same time, it is socialism, so just remember that. If you're going to have programs like the backpack program, or holiday helpers, or the school providing kids with mittens and gloves and hats and jackets and backpacks and all this other stuff, just remember that's socialism. Over the summer, there was an event where families could come in and they could get free clothes for themselves and their children. They could get free school supplies. Okay, all this stuff is free because it was donated and stuff we had left over from the lost and found, things of that nature. And so, people came and took. It's fine, that's what it was there for. But again, it is socialism. Just remember that. Uh, the other reason why, another reason why education sucks in America is because of Donald Trump. Okay, Ronald Reagan had his famous or infamous phrase, the welfare queen. You know, those black women who were sitting on their butts and getting lobster and all this other expensive stuff on food stamps with your hard-earned taxpayer dollars. Yeah, right. Thing is, nothing could be further from the truth. It's not just black people on welfare. I was on welfare when I couldn't find a job. Okay, my goal was to get a job, and I eventually did after 5.5 years of looking. I graduated in January 2008 with my master's degree. Great timing by me. I was talking to a teacher. He knew a guy who graduated with a doctorate degree in engineering, and that person had to get work at Walmart because they couldn't find a job in their field. Okay, so how does Donald Trump fit into all this? 40 years of BS, 40 years of don't trust the government, yada yada yada, and then it's okay to be a racist. It's okay to pick on black people. It's okay to hate Mexicans because they're just a bunch of rapists anyway. Forget all about the white people who rape people, but whatever. So it's okay to hate people. How many times have I heard kids throw around the N-word? Like, seriously? What you do at home is one thing, but not at school. Okay, so kids are angrier. They don't know how to cope. They're a bunch of babies. The parents don't care. Instead of worrying about who can use what bathroom, maybe you should care more about what your kid is and is not doing at school and at home. Okay, it all starts in the home, but people want to point fingers at the school system. And to a degree they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm not saying we're infallible. I'm saying we do need to be looked at. Okay, and we need to change and improve where we can. But people helping kids cheat on exams, or administrators going behind teachers' backs and altering grades because mommy and daddy talked to a board member. Kids not being allowed to get a failing grade or a grade under 50, or kids being pushed on when they can't even read and write. There's a guy years ago, I don't know who said it, but he said we're a nation of whiners. I think to a degree that's true. I think that we all have a personal responsibility for our own actions. I understand that. But I also believe that we have a collective responsibility. Ask for help when you need it. If someone needs help and it's reasonable, help that person out. There's nothing wrong with getting welfare if it's for a short period of time to help you during your time of need. There's nothing wrong with being on SSI or SSD. I was raised on SSI. I had disabilities, still have them, but I work. It just boggles my mind that Republicans like to blame Democrats for everything, but Republicans have taken control, and I'll give them a lot of credit for this. They've taken control of the school boards, and they decide what's going to be taught and what isn't. And they're getting all ticked off about all these books, like To Kill a Mockingbird. Oh, we can't have that anymore. That's too risque. We can't be talking about racism, even though we're a bunch of racists. Instead of focusing on that, why don't you focus on standards? Better sex education so your teenage daughters don't get knocked up by little idiots who don't want to take care of them or their kids. The kids I deal with now are going to have idiots of their own, and it's just going to be a never-ending cycle in a changing world. Within a few years, maybe a decade, if even that, we'll probably hit singularity where we're going to have artificial intelligence that's more intelligent than us. And when that happens, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, maybe even me. What do we do? Do we have a universal basic income, a UBI? Do we have a welfare state where people don't have to work at all and just give all the work to the machines? Do people just work 5 hours a week to keep their benefits? Those are questions that Democrats are posing. You know, that's why a UBI is very important. I have student loans. I would love to pay off my student loan debt. I really would. My obligation. But if robots take my job, I'm not going to be paying anything back. I believe in personal responsibility, but I also believe that the government is responsible for a lot of this too. Deregulation, going after unions, inflation is high, stagnant wages, you know, everybody for themselves, the corruption that is in education. I don't know. The real reason why education in America sucks today is because of Republicans. You know, growing up in the 80s and 90s, you would see shows like Cops, and it was usually black people who were getting incarcerated. Well, I work at a predominantly white school. Trust me, there are a lot of white people who are causing trouble and who will do a very good job at keeping our prisons populated in the not too distant future. And it's really sad, unless mommy and daddy get them off. But, you know, the violence is just prevalent. I think our gun culture has a lot to do with it. When you have kids sneaking guns and knives and other things onto school property. So if you own a gun, that's fine. I'm not here to take it from you. But just be aware of what your kids are up to, and make sure your gun is locked away. These kids have no coping skills whatsoever. You tell them no, they cry, or they get angry and want to fight the world. You know, I had one person I was supposed to tutor, and they didn't show up because we were supposed to be in the cafeteria. And after I was done waiting, then the person showed up and said, you know, I didn't want to go into the cafeteria because there's so many people. How come you didn't tell me? How come this wasn't set up before? You know, it's like these kids have problems and they can't problem solve. These kids can't read, they can't write, they can't do math, they can't do anything because they're told they don't have to. Republicans have been lowering the standards for years. It's not the Democrats, well, mainly not the Democrats, although I'm sure there's some of it. But, you know, I don't know. Our world sucks because of Republicans, because of the crackers and redneck mentality. And I don't see how we're going to get any better. You can blame Pelosi, you can blame Schumer, you can blame AOC, you can blame anybody you want. But at the end of the day, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, and we're working harder for nothing. I worked 4 jobs in one day before, and I'm no further ahead for it. I've paid my dues, in my opinion. Honestly, should I work or should I go on disability? Disability sounds great right now. And you can call me a socialist, you can call me a lazy bum, I don't care. I've done 7 years of retail and 9.5 years of education. I've worked my butt off, and for what? So you guys just go right ahead, keep voting Republican, keep saying you want small government, unless you want the handouts, which you'll probably get. Your kids will get dumber and dumber, and so will you. But as long as the money keeps flowing, who cares? I don't care how much trouble I get in for this, and I don't care who wants to hate me for it. But the kids are getting more and more violent. They're getting more and more anxious. There's more and more mental health issues, and nobody knows how to cope. And I think a lot of people are just in education for the money. I'm not one of them because I don't get paid enough. But, 40 years of Reaganism plus. And we keep getting dumber and dumber, and I just don't get it. I also think these kids are tech heads, tech addicts. They're no better than heroin addicts or whatever. But I don't know, how do we get them off the tech rush? How do we pull the plug? But this is my opinion. I've had it for a while. Until we get things back to some sense of normalcy, until kids learn that they're not in charge except for their actions, that education is important, and it just needs to be done whether you want to be there or not. I don't know what we're going to do. The other thing is, a lot of people on the right don't value education. The parents don't, the kids don't, the politicians don't, nobody does. I have a bachelor's degree in history and art history. What can I do with those? Nothing. So, years ago in the 70s and 60s, I could do something with those degrees. Now, not so much. It's all STEM and STEAM. Go into computers, go into math, go into science. Yeah, until the AI takes over, then what? Or you idiots crash the economy like you did in '08. And that's the thing. You get your education, you have nothing to show for it. How many people have a degree in a major and they're working outside of their major? I am. But, Republicans can say that they hate the rich and all this, but just remember, if you don't value your education, if you don't have a good foundation, if you don't work hard and set good standards for yourself now, the Republicans aren't going to look out for you. You're going to keep getting dumber and dumber and poorer, and they're going to be laughing their way to the bank because they have money to buy their kids an education at a charter school, private school, whatever. How many kids of Congress people are going to public school right now? That'd be a great question for Democrats and Republicans. But now this is just something I've thought of and thought for a while, and just based on my observations over the past 9.5 years, you Republicans have won the local battles. Okay, fine. But just keep shooting yourself in the feet. Don't blame the Democrats. Don't blame the liberals or the blacks or the Jews or the Mexicans or whatever. Take a long look in the mirror. You are what you do. You get what you vote for. You say you want small government. Well, the size of schools, at least the people they employ, are getting larger. More counseling services and more special ed teachers, which means more special ed support staff. One-on-one aides, teaching assistants, special ed teachers. That is what our taxpayer dollars are going to. And instead of rewarding kids with global play day and this, positivity stuff where they get to go on trips and all that, we should be focusing on grades. We should be focusing on getting them ready for the world, teaching them finance, teaching them coping skills, teaching them cooking. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. Test scores suck, attitudes suck, everything just sucks. And I just like to say thank you, Ronnie Reagan. may you rot. Um, and to anyone in education who wants to disagree with me, don't just say, oh, I disagree with you. No. Winning an argument isn't, just because you say so or just because you scream the loudest. It's because you have darn good evidence. And you're going to need it to come after me. Keep voting Republican, and our union will keep getting worse. The teachers' unions are great, support staff not so much. And keep voting Republican. Most, if not all, the problems in education now, you can blame it on Republicans. People aren't going to, but they should. So that's my spiel. I'm not saying Democrats are perfect, because we're not. But I can guarantee you the Republicans have caused more trouble or problems than Democrats. And if you look down the line at red states versus blue states, you'll see that red states really suck. Louisiana, Texas, Georgia, Florida, some of them might be good, but some of them are just terrible. They don't do much because they don't believe in government intervention. Unless it suits them, of course. They want their tax cuts. So that's my spiel, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care.